Hey, everybody, and welcome back to I'll Watch It Later, the podcast where we finally watch all the movies that we've lied to our friends that we've seen. Just want to start the show by saying I'm Aaron, joined always by my best friend in the whole world, Jordan, and my brother-in-law and producer, Scott. How are you guys this week?
I'm doing good. I got to watch a couple different movies, and I'm excited to talk about
Your movie?
probably one of my favorite movies.
Oh.
One of your favorite movies.
Just one. It's a long list.
Just one. Just one movie. Anyway,
That's it. This is my only choice.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support on the first episode. We have everything up and running. We have the iTunes feed running up for you. We have the Spotify feed. Anywhere you get your podcasts, you can now find us there. You can listen to it in your car. You can share it with your friends. And just, we have the Instagram and the Twitter, the Watch It Later pod, where we post what we're watching. We really would appreciate it if you guys would follow along, watch the movies with us, tell us what you thought. Sometimes, I can't put things into words and I just steal it. So maybe I'll steal your comment and put it on the show.
Sincerest form of flattery.
I wrote this entire intro.
I am working on a Patreon. We'll get details on that later, but what we might do is like a film favorites thing where even though we've seen the film, we revisit it and we talk about it and rate it and stuff like that. Nothing up right now, so don't even bother looking for it, but we were approved, so we'll see how that works and if you guys are even interested. But I just wanted to thank you guys at the top of the show, and this week was Jordan's pick, so...
This week we watched 1998's Dark City.
You're probably wondering why I keep appearing in your memories. It is because I have inserted myself in them. All of these memories have been fabricated to teach you about the strangers, give you a lifetime of knowledge in a single syringe. You will survive, John. You will find strength within yourself, and you will prevail.
Hi, Uncle Carl.
Johnny!
Getting the hang of it, John. Maybe one day I'll be working for you. This is the machine the strangers use to amplify their thoughts. The machine that changes their world. You must take control of it. You must make the machine yours. I know you can beat them, John. But you must concentrate.
So the basic premise of Dark City is that John Murdoch, our main protagonist played by Rufus Sewell, is he wakes up from a long night in a bathtub with no memory of what happened, where he's been, who he is, and what's going on. And he finds out that he is wanted for murder and needs to piece together what happened. It's the misadventures of John Murdoch. No, it's a very dark, gritty, neo film noir type movie. What'd you think, Aaron?
Neo, you say? First off, I want to thank you for making us watch The Matrix. That's when I put this on, I immediately so you know how we do that thing where you watch the film and you go back and you start reading and you're like, oh shit, like this, I'm going to use this. Like, this is what this person thought, and this is what this person thought. I immediately thought when I was watching this film, this is The Matrix. Like, this is the film The Matrix in almost every aspect. Then when I went and did my research, everyone compares it to The Matrix. So that's the entire time I'm watching this film, all I can think about is like, this is The Matrix, but with Jennifer Connelly.
The Matrix doesn't have people in dark trench. Oh wait, hold on. The Matrix does have them. Dark
Wait a
trench
minute.
coats.
It doesn't have like the mind. Oh, okay, hold on. Yeah, it does.
The biggest thing is like, it's just, it's a main protagonist who wakes up in his own world, who is different. And I mean, even to the pink water, it's almost like the gooey tube that he comes out of.
Yeah,
and I don't want to go too much into the
I did
Matrix.
find that a little weird. So basically, the movie starts off. You find the protagonist, John Murdoch. He's laying in a bathtub, what looks to be some kind of milk. Like, it wasn't like a regular bathtub full of water. I mean, was it a bubble bath? Was he in Calgon? No one knows. And, he gets out. He had no idea what's going on. The one thing I do notice about this movie now that I've never actually noticed before is this is a movie of quick cuts. You don't linger on one scene longer than maybe 10 seconds at the most. It is cut after cut after cut. You don't have time to focus on anything. You don't have time to examine what's going on in a scene. It is very quickly cut. And at first, once I started to notice it, it was a little jarring. I don't know why I'd never noticed it before. Maybe it's because when, years later after I've ingested as much movies and media as I can, I start to kind of notice these kinds of things. Revisiting this is a very quick movie. Yeah, and for the movie to be a slow burn as far as what you're supposed to pick up and piece together, it is very fast. It is very fast as far as scene to scene to scene to scene. So it was a weird thing to notice this time around, and it doesn't change how I like this movie or love this movie. It's something new, and it's a different layer that I didn't originally pick up when I first watched it.
Was it as fast as Neo is dodging the bullets? I'm just kidding. I won't keep going back to the
Matrix. No, this is fine. Welcome to the Matrix cast with Aaron.
Well, no, I think it's a good argument because there is a lot of comparison to the Matrix, and there's a lot of stuff that the producer kind of. I watched some clips with the producer where
right.
I think he's got a lot of animosity towards the directors of the Matrix because I believe he feels like they kind of stole from him.
They literally bought sets from some of the cityscapes for the Matrix.
Right.
So, I mean, not even so much that this movie borrows from or one borrows from. They literally own parts of sets from Dark City and put it into the Matrix. So, but you got to think at the time, I mean, this director, Alex Proyas, his other movie he directed was The Crow. Very dark, all cityscape stuff like that. So his movie, I think it was his movie debut, was The Crow.
Yes, it was.
So it was very dark. He has a very distinct style on how he approaches things, at least early on. His main background was music videos. So I feel like a lot of this stuff might have influenced how he shot this. Quick cuts and just, you don't get to focus because that's how music videos are. You get a 2-minute music video, you got to pack a lot into that short amount of time. I think that's his mindset where he just got to go to the next thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is dark. I believe at the time when they filmed it, the technology wasn't there to kind of portray some of the things that Alex Proyas wanted to see on screen. So that's why I really, when I chose this movie, I wanted you guys to watch the director's cut. It came out 10 years after the movie originally debuted. They cut out certain parts of the movie that at the time the studios wanted in there, like at the beginning of the regular cut, Kiefer Sutherland narrates. Keanu Reeves.
Whoops, Freudian slip.
Dang it! Yeah. So in the Matrix.
Come on, that's funny.
No, that's great. It's perfect. But Kiefer Sutherland narrates a good portion of the beginning of the movie, which honestly spoils what this movie is about. I mean, if you listen to the way he describes everything, you don't get to have that sense of what's going on. Because now you expect it. So that was a big flaw to me on the original cut. So the director's cut omits that completely. You just start off, guy in the bathtub, he doesn't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on, and then it slowly builds from there.
So I did go off and buy rented the director's cut because you asked me to, and that's kind of something I want to do from here on out, is if we ask each other to watch a certain version, just to watch that version, because clearly it's what the director, I wouldn't say it's what the director wanted, because the director's cut of like Donnie Darko isn't as good as the theatrical cut. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I did do that because that is what you asked for, and I didn't know what was going on at the beginning. All I kept thinking about was the similarities between other movies. But I found myself really like starting to get involved with the characters. I really, really, really like Jennifer Connelly in this movie. I really started to pick up on what they were trying. I picked up very fast on what the director was going for in this film, about how our memories shape us and kind of contribute to our personality. And I like the underlying message in this film a lot. It's something that I would like to revisit like in a theater or something like that. But or even with you, it was just it was a lot at once, and I felt confused for the first 30 plus minutes. I don't think this is a movie I would recommend to people unless I know their movie taste. Like, I would never tell Scott to watch this film, like, ever, because he's dumb. But
and this is the kind of film I'm going to force Scott to watch during this podcast.
I don't think Scott would have ever watched this film. But it's funny that these movies, like Dark City, The Matrix, Equilibrium, all came out at this, like, perfect time.
It was the late 90s.
And
like, they all had that. They wanted to be dark and gritty. I mean, was it XS or something like that?
They all seem to borrow the same concepts when it
13th
comes
Floor
to emotion and stuff. I've actually never seen 13th Floor. I know. God, I know. That's why we're doing this show. But you know, I'm a cinephile. I've never seen that though. But
that's the new title of the podcast. I'm a cinephile. I've never seen it.
But I appreciate this pick in general. I think this is the essence of the show. Like, Rumblefish was a good jumping off point. I think was a good discussion. But the essence of the actual show of I'll watch it later is movies like this, because I giving you a little crap and comparing it to The Matrix, but I would have never watched it because to me it's not a Matrix ripoff because clearly it came out first, but it's comparable. And I feel like I'm rambling, but you would go into a Hollywood Video or Blockbuster back in the day, and you'd see all these movies, and it'd be like, if you like The Matrix, you'll like Dark City, and you're like, well, that's a ripoff,
right?
And they just got Kiefer Sutherland so they could sell this film, and Jennifer Connelly, blah blah blah. And I'm never gonna watch that because I can just watch The Matrix. So I'm actually really glad you made me watch this film.
Well, and I guess the movie industry is very tight knit. If you really look at it, when you start doing research, you know, composers, there's not many of them. There's screenwriters, there's really not many of them. So at what point does a bunch of people sit in a room and they're writing up this screenplay for this movie, and then somebody else in that room says, well, I'm going to write a different screenplay, kind of basically the same thing, but I'm going to make it better. And I think that might have been what happened with this, is that somebody else took it that was part of the original screenplay and went and said, well, I'm going to make a better movie because I can make it better.
It's definitely possible. I mean, you've got, so basically the kind of the genesis of this movie is that the director kind of had this idea as he was filming The Crow, and he kind of muddled it around and kind of threw out his initial story. And then the writer that he ended up hiring, the screenwriter, to kind of put it to page, read this and gave him the notes. This isn't going to work. There's too many cliches. There's too many, you know, it's basically, you know, you're trying to create a detective that's like this, see? And you can't do that if this is the direction you want to go. So the screenwriter drastically rewrote the entire movie.
Really?
So this movie is not the original vision of Alex Proyas, but it's completely his baby because this is what he wanted. He just didn't have that voice. He was a filmmaker that came up with a story, not a screenwriter that came up with the story. And in Hollywood, that is two vastly different things.
And it's also weird to me that that Kiefer Sutherland got cast as like a supporting role. I didn't even know who the main guy was. I don't even know
that's why he did it.
Seen him in anything. I thought he was excellent. I would love to see more, but then I think I looked it up. He hasn't done anything.
He was in A Knight's Tale.
Right. Exactly. He hasn't done anything.
No, he was in A Knight's Tale.
He was the king, right?
No, he wasn't the king. Well, he was the other guy.
The bad guy one.
He wasn't the king. But yeah, he was very, very under the radar, and that was the intention. They didn't want a name to sell this movie. He wanted this movie to stand on its own. I mean, Jennifer Connelly was a big name. She's been in a good number of movies, but she still wasn't as popular as maybe, you know, any other actresses in the late 90s. I mean, look at The Matrix. Keanu Reeves sold that movie, Lawrence Fishburne, but you didn't know anybody else who played Trinity. Not many people cared.
Carrie Ann Moss.
Well, yeah, but no one else knew that at the time. Like, who's Carrie Ann Moss?
Yeah.
You know? So I think that was the idea, is that he wanted this movie to stand on its own and not be sold by the names. I mean, Kiefer Sutherland was a big bring-in. William Hurt,
I loved his character, by the way.
Right.
I thought he was old-timey police detective, like, we gotta follow the clues.
Right.
And I enjoyed him. Anytime he was on screen in this film, I was immediately excited to see what he was gonna do. So,
What I really like about this movie is that they sell this movie as this dark, gritty, I wouldn't say it's a big as a twist as like From Dusk Till Dawn, but they sell it as this. Okay, it's a murder mystery. This guy, wakes up, no memory. Look, he's wanted for murder. Doesn't know why. He's trying to figure it out. He's getting chased by the cop, and then they flip it to this weird sci-fi, something else is going on type of movie. But it's completely set in what you're assuming is probably the 1940s. People talk like they're in the 1940s. He goes to an automat like in 1940s New York. The colors are very muted. For being, completely dark. And I think that's part of why I liked it. It had that old-time feel with a kind of a new genre attached to it.
And
which is
the
kind of
same
neat.
thing with like Kiefer Sutherland's character as a doctor. It reminded me a lot of like an asylum doctor. The way he was dressed,
Very frantic.
I could see him like just poking and prodding with rusty tools. I mean, it's and as we kind of talked about last week, using light and dark. This movie did a lot of that. It used that dark. I mean, obviously the dark tones. Reminded me a lot of like the first Batman, the first the things we were talking about earlier of making the darkness the tone and overtone of the movie.
it definitely felt like a '90s film, like not. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because a lot of people are like, well, it feels dated. And that's not what I'm talking about. Like all '90s films have this like undercoating of dark themes where they kind of hang out at night and everything happens at night and it's always dark no matter what room they're in or whatever. Even daytime during Pulp Fiction, it feels like it's dark inside the diner. So that just comes along with the territory. I think when I watch films that are set in that time period or when made in that time period, I just think, oh, this is a '90s film. Like I can tell just by the way people are, what kind of room they're in.
Well, you got to think that you can hide a lot in a dark movie like this.
Yes, you can.
If you're limited by the technology at the time, you can hide a lot of the flaws, a lot of the issues with these kinds of movies. Originally, when this movie came out, the color tone, everything was different. And I think maybe having you watch the director's cut kind of pushed you more toward the comparison to The Matrix because he did color shift it.
Well, I think
originally it was like this blue tones and darker tones, and then he kind of did that same Matrix look where if it's dark, it's kind of got that yellowish, greenish tint to it.
Right.
And that also probably, contributed to that comparison. And that's rightfully so. I mean, everyone did the same thing.
Scott, you watched regular, right?
The what?
You watched the regular edition or no?
Yeah, I watched the regular version.
Okay.
So
I'm sure I couldn't quite get a hold of the director's cut in the time frame that I needed to watch this, so I did watch the regular version because I put things off. I like to watch the movies later on in the week because then it's fresh when I come in for the show.
Yeah, right? I did watch this early. I think I watched it the same day. No, it was the next day after we did our Rumblefish show, but I didn't have anything going on, and I really wanted to watch it because Jordan was so excited about it, so I threw it on.
I'm less excited now.
Why?
Just kidding.
But we're talking about a lot of like comparisons to like different movies and stuff, and there was a lot of things that I picked out of this movie that I don't know if they necessarily pulled from other movies, and I think everybody does this. Like the opening scene when he's in the bathtub, immediately I thought Saw. So I'm thinking the director of Saw watched this movie and said, "That's how I'm going to start my movie." Because it looked exactly like the opening scene from the first Saw movie.
Right.
And then The Strangers. And I'm gonna just blow this up, and you're never gonna get this image burned out of your head. When they came on the scene, I was like, what is Judge Doom doing here?
Yeah. No,
Roger
I know.
Rabbit for those references.
And then the problem is that came out prior. So, I mean,
Yes.
they probably did model that a lot after that. The thing that kind of they reminded me of a little bit, without it being super creepy, is that episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where they had the silence episode where they had those tall, lanky, pale, weird-looking creatures, and they just have that cadence to them.
I mean,
go
ahead.
I mean,
Sorry.
we really haven't really talked about what's going on in this movie. So basically, he's wanted for murder. He's being chased by a William Hurt's character who's a detective. About probably 30 minutes into the movie, you find out he's being chased by these strangers who are aliens. They are aliens, and what they're doing are experiments on people. They're changing memories. They're changing the city. And I believe the whole premise is that they're trying to figure out the human soul.
Right.
At some point, I don't know if I don't believe it's explained too much.
So the thing is, they're trying to figure out what it means to be human, or figure out how the soul works, so that they can somehow become more human to kind of like
I feel like they are
be integrated,
like a dying race or like a dying species, and they're trying to figure out how to survive. And I think that's what they're using people for.
Well, and you got two angles. So you've got, the strangers are looking for him, but the detective is looking for, what's his name, John?
Yeah, John Murdoch.
Because they believe that he has killed a bunch of prostitutes, and they believe that he's like this serial murderer.
Yeah, so the aliens are setting people up in different scenarios to figure out how they react. So they have tried to change his memories, and it turns out, evolutionary-wise, he kind of has, I don't know, like ESP or some kind of telepathy that they call the tune. And it's how they manipulate the city. It's how they put people to sleep to change their memories. And he has the ability to do what they do, and they can't find him. They can't change what he's doing. And they tried to set him up as a killer to see how the world reacts to him murdering all these prostitutes. So he's not actually killed these people, but everyone around him has the memories of he's the one that did it. We have to get him. So it's like a chase on two fronts, where he's being chased by these strangers who want him because they don't like the idea of him having that ability, and they need to figure out why and what's going on, because we shouldn't be able to do that. And he's getting chased by the police and wondering, and his wife's trying to figure out what's going on, and because everybody has all these memories, and he has all memories that he doesn't believe he was supposed to have. So he's constantly trying to get away and get to this place called Shell Beach, which is burned into his memory. So he doesn't know what's real, what's not real, and everyone around him is just reacting to what they've been imprinted on.
Right. And it's a lot of the biggest, maybe not the biggest story arc in the film, but a lot of the story arc hinges on Jennifer Connelly and him, their relationship, because they're not really married, because the strangers have altered it so that they are married.
Right.
But they are somehow still connecting in the film, like, even though they are not really married, and they kind of realizing that all this stuff is changing around them, it's still drawing them closer together. And the reason it's important is because that is what the strangers are looking for, like why they are so drawn to each other, even though they are not supposed to even have ever really known each other.
Right.
But they keep creating these memories. And that's the underlining message I took away from the entire film. Is your memories and your soul creates your personality.
Yeah, memories, experiences,
right.
Things shape who you are. I mean, like you said, they, for all intents and purposes, they were set up to be married, but I believe the way they intended it was he was already away from her for 3 weeks. She cheated on him. He left her and has killed all these prostitutes.
Right.
Whereas he didn't get those memories. She did, and somehow they still kind of are drawn to each other, whereas I believe the scenario was to kind of keep them apart.
Right. Correct.
Well, but was it a game? Because they planted a lot of things.
They did.
They planted the newspaper articles in his coat, basically saying that he was framed and wanted for all these murders, and then basically telling him where his wallet was so that he could discover where he lived and where he could go. And it was almost like they were like puppeteering him through this whole scenario.
Right. I mean, it's possible. Like I said, they didn't have the ability to know what he was going to do. They couldn't figure that out because he didn't have the memories they thought he was going to have.
Right.
And that's where Kiefer Sutherland's character comes in. He's probably other than the main protagonist eventually finding out what's going on, he's the only other non-alien character in this movie that knows exactly what's going on. He has been conscripted at this point by these alien creatures to change people's memories because he has that ability to mix chemical compounds to add in, memories of, good childhoods, abusive relationships, and things like that. So he's shaping how these people are going to be, and that's he was interrupted in the middle of the process because, like I said, John has the ability to tune like the aliens do.
I just have to say, as far as Kiefer Sutherland goes, I'm a big Kiefer Sutherland fan. I think this was the first movie I ever watched with him in it where I did not like him as a character.
You should watch Mirrors.
I liked Mirrors.
Oh my God.
Well, the first one. Mirror.
He's playing more of a he's kind of more like a Johnny Depp character, where he's playing that weird role.
That's fine.
And he's very frantic.
And it was very, very, for what you expect from Kiefer Sutherland, it was a little over the top.
I just didn't like him in the role. It just wasn't for me personally.
He wasn't originally supposed to be in that role, I believe. I don't think they were actually surprised that he actually not only read the script but took the script and wanted that character, because that character was supposed to be kind of an older character, and to be played by someone at the time as young as he was, it threw everything off a little bit. And you're right, he played it very, method actor Johnny Depp, where he feels like, okay, my character has lung issues or a heart condition, so he's always talking like this, and he's always out of breath, and he's just walking. And it's like that was his character. So I mean, for me, I did feel like, okay, dude, take a breath, finish your sentence. Like, I get it. You're talking like the movie cuts. It's just quick and very breathy and come on, John,
yeah,
I'll help you. And like he's at some point, I also kind of feel like his character is constantly on edge, because he is the only one that knows what's going on, and he knows that relationship is very fragile between him and the strangers.
Yeah. I wanted to punch him in the face like so many times, because he was just, I'm like, dude, chill out. Like, what are you even trying to do here? And he was just frustrating to me as in that role, but I guess that's good acting.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes together in the end.
Right.
Well, so when I was watching it originally, the beginning, it did draw me into it at the beginning because of the frantic nature of it. You want to know what's going on. You want to know why he's experiencing all this stuff, and then you want to know who these trench coated people are. Right. And it is just it's banging you with information right up front. And I mean, it does a good job with the pacing, and I think the acting goes along with it. Not saying that it makes it good or bad, but I mean, I think it did its job for what they were trying to achieve.
Did you notice that maze he was playing with the rat in at the beginning was the same setup as
in the Matrix?
No.
No.
Was the same setup at the end when he was in that like hallway, or not hallway, but where the strangers
this movie
were hanging out.
plays heavily on the idea of that shape, the maze. I mean, essentially, spoiler alert here. The end of the movie shows up. You find out basically they're on this giant spaceship.
Right.
And they can manipulate how the spaceship looks. And if you get like a top-down view, it's that same shape. It's very maze-like. You're not supposed to know where the ends are. No one knows how to get anywhere, and it's easy to manipulate.
It was like a spiral,
right?
Kind of like a fingerprint.
Exactly. So John's got the spiral on his fingerprint. The first hooker you see that's dead has spirals cut into her skin. So that idea is there. I mean, even there's a character that
Chris Rock?
finds out. Yeah. Chris Rock shows up with Sam Jackson and makes a terrible movie.
So bad.
No, there's another detective that William Hurt interacts with, and that detective is going crazy. And the reason he's going crazy is that he figures out what's really going on, but he can't convince everybody else that that's what's going on. So he's one of those typical I'm crazy, but I'm not kind of people. So he's in his room drawing spirals and doing all this stuff because he has seen past the veil. He knows what's going on and doesn't know how to figure it out. He essentially tells you the entire plot 30 minutes in.
Right.
These aren't our memories. It doesn't matter. That's not my wife. Like, none of this matters. I'm not me.
Right.
And that's the point. He doesn't know what's real and what's fake. So he's going crazy.
Yeah.
It's all spirals.
It's all spirals. Chris Rock shows up, gets killed by the Jigsaw Killer.
Well, that's what I'm saying is it's like you see like all the correlation now between some of these movies where you think
that
people are
joke.
sitting but
nothing to do with spiral, I promise.
No, it's I'm not joking though, because it's like I think these directors, they see these movies and like I said, it's all pulling bits and pieces from different movies to create their own works.
I promise you that the dude who directed Spiral did not watch Dark City and then decide to do Spiral. I promise you that.
I'm talking about the original Saw.
I promise you the guy who directed Spiral never watched a Saw movie.
Right.
And then directed the sequel to Saw.
So.
No, yeah, I could see that. I mean, definitely people borrow a lot. Now, and the problem is this movie critically didn't do well in the theater. It
didn't
barely
do
it barely
anything.
made any money back. Like I think it made like $200,000, $2 million above what it cost to make the movie. And I mean, like I said, I've loved this movie. I was working at, I think, Hollywood Video at the time when it finally came out on video. I watched this relentlessly. Like, I enjoyed it. Then I find out going through it, and especially watching some of the special features on the director's cut, Roger Ebert loved this movie.
That's awesome.
He talked about this movie so highly and said it was one of the best genre-defining movies of the time, and to the point where he does audio commentary on the DVD of the director's cut.
Really?
Well,
So
he
I'm
said
gonna
it
go
was
back
the
and
best movie of 1998.
yeah, I mean he praised this movie relentlessly, and it surprised me that something that I like, that I know for a fact, just did not sit well with audiences, especially after you get movies like The Matrix coming out, and saying, okay, well, this was what sticks in everybody's head, so now you're right. They go back and watch these movies like, oh, this is just The Matrix. Oh, this is just that same movie I already saw and I enjoyed, but it doesn't live up to that same expectation. He loved this movie. And so it's kind of interesting to kind of go back and see, okay, maybe this wasn't as bad as I think people made it out to be. I just don't think they marketed it. I mean, just listen to the trailer. There's no dialogue. There's no setup. It's quick, dark images. Like, they didn't sell this movie. They didn't sell it. I mean, the box art looks terrible. I'm not going to lie. I mean,
a lot of stuff that we take for granted is like that, though, especially when it comes. I mean, you working at Hollywood Video, I worked at Hollywood Video. A lot of my favorite movies I found that were not successful in the box office whatsoever. I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier. Equilibrium, same exact thing. Came out, I'm not even kidding you, released the same weekend in the movie theater as The Matrix. No one saw it.
I only heard about that movie through word of mouth working at the video store.
So did I.
Same with like Super Troopers. Like, it's one of those just, hey, you got to watch this movie. Okay, sure.
So this isn't me rating it yet. We're not to that part yet, but here's what I'll say. How you feel about Dark City is probably how I feel about Equilibrium, whereas I saw it way after I saw everything else, and I fell in love with it because it was fucking incredible. So when I watch Dark City, that's all I can think of is like Equilibrium, same time as The Matrix. All these movies are in this category, and it's just they're all good in their own way type of thing. And it's like, I wish I would have seen Dark City before I saw those other films, if that makes any sense.
No, it
Without
does.
giving it a rating, I'm just saying I wish I would have seen it before then.
Yeah, because
then
now you're
maybe I
looking
would-
through a lens of being
Correct.
tainted by other experiences, and now you, like you said, you wanted to feel a certain way because of these other movies. And I get that.
Exactly.
And that's fine. Yeah.
That is, I wouldn't even say an issue. That's just my only gripe. It's like, oh man, I wish I would have watched this before I watched those things. But
Well, and, I mean, 1998. I mean, that was kind of prime time, really. And
for what?
I've never heard of this movie for my life.
Oh.
Prime time. I mean, I'm
Fucking Deion
late
Sanders
late
over here.
teenager. I was watching movies and never heard of this movie. We've heard of The Matrix. Everybody heard of The Matrix.
Right.
But I've never heard of Dark City. And until
Have you
Jordan brought it to the table, it's almost like the movie industry is tuning us
I
to
mean,
like the movies that they want us
well,
to
I mean,
like.
just
Oh my
look,
God.
I mean, just like I said, the trailer itself doesn't sell this movie. But then you go to the other side of the spectrum where you watch trailers nowadays that give way too much away.
I agree.
And you sit there
I hate
going,
trailers
I've already
now.
seen this movie when you finally see it in the theater. So for me, it was, this movie does not sit well on the trailer end. Like, it just doesn't. You
Right.
kind of get these images. You don't know what's going on. It reminds me of a lot of, like, the movie Brazil, or, some of these other, movies where it's like probably like post-apocalyptic or something like that, and you don't know what's going on. I mean, I love the line in the movie where he goes, when was the last time you ever seen the daylight?
Right.
And it's like, sometimes some of these characters, despite how much manipulation have going on with them, they still are trying to piece it together. It's almost like the human soul, the human endurance, all that stuff wants to break free of, God, I'm gonna hate when I say this, the Matrix. It's the glitch. Like, you can't write everything.
Well,
like, they want to manipulate and control everything, and at some point you can't. It's chaos theory. It's Jurassic Park. You can't control some things,
Human nature.
and that's why he's got this ability. Human nature is breaking free of that. They're like saying, okay, You've manipulated. You don't even know how long they've been doing this.
I mean,
and at some point, now he's got the ability to change things. You just can't.
I really despise how many times we've said the Matrix in this episode. Whatever.
Watch it next week.
But I think it was on HBO like 2 days ago. Anyways, but if you're just listening to the show and you're not following along, you're not watching the movies, the similarities between the Matrix and this movie are this guy wakes up in a bathtub and his entire reality around him has changed. There's people that are asleep, and it's almost the same metaphor in the Matrix as, well, the people are asleep around you and they're waiting to be awoken by the Matrix. The world is changing around you and it's being manipulated by a sinister force, just like the Matrix. So the reason we're comparing, or me and Scott, not so much Jordan, I get that
I see the similarities.
But the reason we're saying this is because if you actually watch this film, you're going to say to yourself, okay, I get it. Like this, the strangers are the agents, and this is how this is. This isn't just like, oh, it's the same protagonist or same bad guy or anything like that. The similarities are literally like, whoa, like this is,
it's pretty scary.
It is scary, and not scary, but scary is probably not the right word, but it's just, they're so similar.
But that's what's odd, because they were filmed so closely together.
Right.
It wasn't like there was years between these two movies.
And now I'm thinking, because if you do follow along with movies, you hear Will Smith. He was originally supposed to be cast as Neo, and he had this pitch meeting, and it was literally just how they were going to film the movie instead of what the story was. I just can't believe it's a coincidence. That's all I'm saying. It's too similar.
Well, you got to think, and it's like what Scott was saying. I mean, writers talk, screenwriters talk, and you've got situations where you've got Armageddon and Deep Impact.
Yeah, no,
you've got Volcano and Dante's Peak. Everyone's got those.
But both those movies were made, and about both of those films.
Right. But it's the same situation where maybe a screenwriter did like that premise and that idea, or someone did say something somewhere along the lines that said, oh, you know what, that would be good too.
It's a payday.
Let's put this into a different script. Let's change it just slightly, and so instead of aliens manipulating our world, it's a computer, because computers are big.
Right.
The internet was just getting really big at the time, late 90s. You know what I mean? Like everything was all computer stuff.
It's just such a weird transition from Bound to the Matrix. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is the Wachowski sisters.
The Wachowskis.
They did Bound, and then they literally did the Matrix. So it was, a movie about lesbians and then the Matrix. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm glad you made me watch this film, because it's crazy to me. Have you ever seen Equilibrium, Scott?
I think
Christian Bale, Dystopian Society, No Emotions.
I believe so.
They take the pill that suppresses their
emotion.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
I mean, there's a lot of movies that I've seen way back.
I was just wondering.
And that's a movie that
has a reference.
When I was working at the video store, that was a movie that was sold to me based on the premise: if you like The Matrix, you got to watch this. This is better than The Matrix. You got to check it out.
Same. That's why.
That's why I watched it. Yeah.
So I think.
The movies at the
Stewart is in it, like very young Kristen Stewart. I think. The daughter?
No.
Who finds the pills?
I don't believe that's... No, because there's a son and a daughter, and I don't know if there was a daughter.
There was. Oh, you know what? You might be right.
It was a son.
Yeah,
and,
you're right. You're right.
Young Kirsten
I love this
Stewart
movie. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I think a young Kirsten Stewart was in... what was it? That Jodie Foster movie, Panic Room. That's probably and she was in a couple other movies when she was younger. But I think that's not Equilibrium.
Getting confused with. Yeah, my bad. Don't listen to me. Not that anybody does. Do we want to give our ratings and pick the next movie and move on to movies that are coming out, or do you guys have more to talk about?
No, I mean, I do. For me personally, I do feel like everyone should probably just check this movie
yes.
out. I mean, it is a good movie. I am very biased because I do have some history with it. I loved it. I saw the original cut in the theater. This was back. I think it came out after high school, so I was working at Hollywood Video, watching a lot of movies, not a care in the world, not doing school yet.
That was my favorite thing.
You know what I mean? Like you just go see movies, hang out, get a Jamba Juice, whatever, So for me, I really enjoyed this movie. It's not a 5 for me. I do rate it higher than Rumblefish. I'm a simple man.
Dare you?
But I mean, for me, it's a 4. Like like I said, it's one of my favorite movies. It's up there with some of the stuff that I like, and I think maybe because I did see it in the theater before I saw The Matrix, I'm not going to be as biased by.
Oh, you actually saw Dark City in the
I
theater?
saw it in the theater. Like I said, this came out in '98. I had just graduated high school the year before.
For some reason, I thought you kept
know,
saying
this
you
is
saw it in you rented it.
No, I was 19, saw it in the theater. I was sold on it, I think, based off of, seeing some trailers and hearing some stuff. I mean, this is back before I could research everything on the internet.
Right.
So I think I got sold on a trailer, and I just thought that was really cool. So I saw that one in the theater, and I've really liked it ever since. I mean, when the director's cut came out, I was very excited to get that, and I actually was very excited to see some of the changes that they made.
Yeah.
Jennifer Connelly, in the movie, she sings 2 song numbers because she's like a lounge singer, and it's really nice that she, I think, got her audio put back into the director's cut.
So this was hard for me to rate, and I'm not going to lie, because I do think that everyone should check this film out. I really do. And I also think, once again, I'm going to repeat myself, this is what the podcast was invented for, was movies like this. Like I said, Rumblefish, great jumping off point, but these are the type of films that I want to talk about. I want to, build off of and find diamonds in the rough type of thing, whatever. I thought it was very similar to The Matrix, which we've already discussed at nauseum. But so in that aspect, it was too similar, and it was too weird for me to get past that. So I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, because I was like, oh, this fucking movie ripping shit off. But I liked William Hurt. I liked the main character. Jennifer Connelly was amazing in this. There's weird mind powers in this film that really take you out of it, where he's like shooting his like telekinesis at people. And
watch the regular cut. That stuff was put into the director's cut. The regular cut didn't have a lot of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they took those 10 years and said, okay, let's fix some things. Like the aliens looked a little bit different. Like they just didn't have the technology in '98 to make it look at least somewhat believable.
Oh, okay.
The director's cut did improve some of that. So what you saw was the improved version. Go watch the other version, and then you'll be like, all right, it's still not great, but
right.
You got to think of the time.
And I'm not even saying it's not great. I think if you are at home chilling on a Sunday and you want to throw something in and think about it, I would definitely watch this film. I want people to watch this film. But as far as like a rating goes, I'm just middle of the road 3 for me. It's not great. It's not bad. I'm not going to sit here and be like, nah. It's one of those that I, like you guys said, I probably won't ever think about it again unless we talk about it. If it came to Alamo, I'd definitely watch it. I'd go with you to the theater to see it.
I was going to say you'd have to, because I'd be going.
Right. And I think a lot of the times it's like, would I go, if I'd go to the Alamo to see a movie, would I, if it makes it good or bad? And I think I would. I think I would go to the Alamo to see this. So just a 3 for me. Nothing you need to run out and watch right now, but if you're bored and you're just chillaxing, definitely throw this on. How about you, Scott?
I'll swing it over to Average Joe's corner. I'm just going to probably repeat this again since you guys said this already. It's like I can't say much more than what you guys have already said. Like I said, the similarities for The Matrix for me were right there too, and I didn't hate this movie, man. I did enjoy it a little bit more than Rumblefish, because I think it was more my speed. It was science fiction. There was some action to it. However, The Matrix did do it better, but I'm giving it a 3 as well. Kind of middle of the road. It was, if you've seen The Matrix and you like The Matrix, go watch this movie, because you're going to hop online and you're going to start doing research, because you want to understand what the similarities are. You want to understand what people say about it. You want to understand all the little intricacies about it, so it's like, for me, it's the middle of the road. It's enjoyable. It's a good watch. I don't know if it is something that I would head over to the library of videos and grab Dark City out and be like, I have to watch this today.
If I would have seen this when I was working at Hollywood Video, if I would have really been paying attention, I would have grabbed it off the shelf. But I never saw this anywhere in Hollywood Video. Not saying it wasn't there. It was the cover. The original cover is like a clock,
Right.
I think, and he's on the clock.
Yeah, it's kind of this weird, like it's like he's being. It's hard to describe. He's very blurry, and it's like this, like almost like Jesus pose, like arms out, and then there's the clock behind him.
So I've always thought this was. I thought this was a horror film because I've definitely seen that cover a million times, and I just was like, oh, another generic horror film. But as I said last week, this movie's been recommended to me by every person I talk to movies about,
right.
And I've just been like, meh. But I'm glad I watched it, so I can't say that enough. Yeah, so. So Scott gave it a 3. I gave it a 3. Jordan gives it a 4.
Yeah, I give it a 4. I'm biased.
That's
I have
okay.
a lot of history, but
I was biased against Rumblefish.
Right. No, and that's for me. It's just I think for the time it was kind of a new genre to me when I was just getting into movies. And then it made me go back and watch older movies like Brazil that have some the same similarities and things like that. So I mean, it helped me kind of dig deeper into other things. And I think at the time what sold me on it, I mean, like I said, that trailer doesn't really sell you on the movie. For me, it was name recognition. Right. I loved The Crow. That was a movie in high school that was really good. I wasn't like a goth kid or anything, but it was one of those movies that was pretty defining at the time, and the history of what happened before it got released and Brandon Lee dying and things like that really that sat pretty heavy with me. And that's what sold me on to go see his next outing. Like, I'll go see this director's movie. I really loved his first movie. I'm going to go see his second movie. And then he made Gods and, whatever. Gods of Egypt, and I just wanted to disown him completely.
No, he made Knowing.
Oh, I know. I didn't want to talk about that. Okay. I was hoping that wasn't going to come out.
Okay.
But yeah, that movie was
going to say, he made Knowing, and that is one of the worst movies ever made.
It's bad. But just to keep with Dark City for a second, and this kind of leads into more like news and stuff like that, is that he is developing a Dark City TV show.
Really?
He is in talks to bring in a Dark City TV show. So that's going to be kind of cool. I don't know if they're going to do a prequel. I don't know if they're going to expand on what's going on. I mean, I find it hard to think that they could expand on the end of it, because where do you go from the fact that John pretty much disrupts the entire thing? I think if you build in worlds within that world and do more stories like stuff like that, then that would be great. But who knows?
Yeah, maybe it would be more like Getting to Earth or something like that, because where are they going to go from here type of situation?
I don't even know where they are.
I know all that water dumped out at the end, but it kind of seemed like they landed. I don't know, man.
I think it's a movie that they could probably redo to current standards
with the Wachowskis.
I don't know,
Kiefer
with
Sutherland.
whoever. Like you could use the same movie and you could redo it, and it would probably be a good movie and it'd probably make a lot of money.
Yeah.
In today's world.
So that's actually cool. I will check out the show. I'll wait till all the episodes are out because I'm not going to try to follow it. But okay, so that was our movie for this week. Please go out and check Dark City if you want to follow along. And now it is Scott's pick. So a little programming note. Scott's going to pick right now. We're going to come back next week. We're going to talk about and review the movie he picks. I don't know what it is. Then we are doing the snack show the following week. So you'll have a week off of movies, and we will go right into the snack show. The snack show will be under the same tab. It'll still be I'll Watch It Later podcast, but it will be called At the Concession Stand, and it will be a different format. So I don't want you guys to freak out when you're like, well, this isn't about movies. It's just the way we're doing things. It gives us a week off, kind of a week
to probably still talk about stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
While we're feeding our fat faces.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about snacks, stuff like that. But I just really, until we get further along in this, I just want you to understand the format. I know I explained it last week. It will be 3 movies and then a snack show. Okay, so Scott, with that said, what is your movie for next week, sir?
So my movie is, I'm keeping it in the 90s. It's 1991. It was directed by Brian Gordon. This director.
What else did he do?
He
say,
does a lot of TV series.
Yeah, I think he weeds.
It was written by John Hughes, which is John Hughes pretty much had his thumbprint all over everything from like the 80s all the way into the 90s, and with any kind of comedies. So this is a comedy. It's a romantic comedy, so we're all going to get up in our feels.
Yay.
It's not very romantic. It's starring Frank Whaley, Jennifer Connelly again, and
Jennifer Connelly,
which is I
movies in
think
a
is kind
row.
of it's Jennifer Connelly. It's peak Jennifer Connelly, and it also does have some John Candy in there. But the movie is
that I didn't know.
I didn't know
Career
that either.
Opportunities.
I was 15 when I invented the artificial dog heart. How you doing?
John Hughes, the creator of The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Uncle Buck,
Did I ever tell you about the time that I signed a professional ball contract?
would like to introduce you to Jim Dodge.
You got fired again, didn't you?
I'm not like everybody else.
He's got brain damage.
He does not.
He spent 21 years improving on reality.
Going to Paris on an F-14.
Jim is going to find himself.
Are you a slacker?
No, Presbyterian.
I can offer you $4.44 per hour. $4.44.
What about the benefits?
There's no eating. You're not being paid to eat, so don't. And don't play any music.
I don't have any time to play any music.
Don't touch me.
Welcome to the target team.
You're locking me in?
Boo.
Then, one wild night, Jim Dodge finally found the real thing. In aisle 5.
What are you doing here?
I work here. Do you know how you make me feel?
Like a natural woman?
I'm a janitor in training. You're an heiress.
You know what your problem is?
No, but let me go look at my list.
What are you planning to steal? Hairspray?
Well, we haven't decided yet, have we?
From John Hughes. Career Opportunities. The story of a man and a woman, aisles apart.
If I was sweating, would you touch me?
I would probably touch you even if you were covered with spiders.
And one night that changed everything.
Not as uncomfortable as I thought it'd be. Oh, no, it's not bad.
Career Opportunities on video cassette.
I can't wait to watch it. I actually own the Kino version of it sitting right there on my DVD shelf, and I have never watched it, so this will be 100% perfect for me.
I was going to say, and I don't think I've seen a movie with the main characters as the main character. Last thing I remember seeing him in was Pulp Fiction as Brad, the guy who was getting a gun pointing at him as from Sam Jackson. So that should be pretty good.
It's good. I kind of went the opposite direction. I wanted maybe a little bit lighter, a little bit of comedy.
That's fine.
Like, I mean, that's kind of my genre. You got
Especially
John
since we are going to
Hughes
mess everybody up in October with some of the weirdest Italian horror movies you've
Right.
ever and never
So,
heard of.
Yeah, and with that, I did want to talk about that. So we're planning some great stuff for you guys. October is going to be a horror month. Still working out some logistics. I don't know if we're going to really do a marathon 3 movies with one sitting thing, but I definitely, all of October will be horror-related film. All of December will be Christmas-related. We'll do some special stuff for you guys, and you can always reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, or our website, I think, and send us messages that way and give us any type of recommendations. However, we love hearing from you guys. We love talking about movies. So, with that said, we got a couple minutes left, and I did want to get into one of my favorite segments, and that's what's coming out Blu-ray wise this week. And when I say Blu-ray, it's very generic. I don't call them DVDs anymore because, honestly, one thing you need to know about me is I hate DVDs. I think they are a dead format. So send me all the hate.
Don't tell that to Walmart.
Because I despise DVDs, especially with the way that these boutique companies like Arrow, Kino, Lore Bear, I don't even know how to say it. I think it's Lore Bear. Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome, Arrow
Shout
again.
Factory.
No, I'm just kidding. Shout Factory. Severin, stuff like that. They're just releasing these incredible supplements, Criterion, stuff like that. So, yeah, I would like to give you a better week for our first week, but next week we don't have too much coming out. We start with David Lynch's Dune.
A beginning is a very delicate time. Know then that it is the year 10,191. In this time, the most precious substance in the universe is the spice melange. The spice extends life. The spice exists on only one planet in the entire universe. The planet is Arrakis, also known as Dune.
And you've seen it.
I have.
I have not seen it.
Oh,
I've never seen it either.
But I own it, so
you're in for a treat.
I don't know if I want to watch it, but you've seen.
Okay, so I would.
He's just telling you right now.
Look, the new movie comes out in October. I want you to watch the original.
Okay, I will watch the
original. I really
original.
want you to watch the original because they made another one too with William Hurt in it.
They did.
They did.
Was it a TV series?
I think it was a TV miniseries. So they have
think
that
I
one.
remember that.
But this one was David Lynch's sci-fi opus.
I guess, but everybody hates it.
It's not great. No, no, it is definitely
watch
not
it
great.
anyways.
I am going to watch it. I own it. I bought it on.
It's terrible.
I bought
Watch
the
it.
Arrow
But see, here's the
edition.
thing. Like, I actually, when we knew that the movie was coming out, the new one was coming out, you and I both said, "Okay, let's read the book."
And
I did.
Me too.
Predicated on the fact that last year should have existed, and we should have seen this movie by now. That book
is so long.
It's so long,
and it's like
it is nothing but it's basically what like George R.R. Martin and all these Lord of the Rings books are. It's dialogue upon dialogue, and it's world building to a point where you're bored.
Sense. Yes, it's really boring. And I'm not even trying to be mean. I get that people like this stuff. That's cool.
It's great.
Not for me. And I'm not even. I can sit down and read a book.
Oh, it's a boring book. It is really boring. And as far as the movie goes, to adapt something to such boring source material if you put it into that context, you're gonna like David Lynch's version because he had a lot to it had a lot to work with, and you get to see a lot of actors. It's like with Rumblefish, you get to see a lot of actors a little bit younger.
Was Paxton? Who's the main guy? I thought it was Paxton.
No,
I don't know what I'm thinking of.
Oh God, it's the lead in Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah, what?
Kyle MacLachlan.
Yes,
so it's Kyle MacLachlan.
Why wouldn't I know that?
Patrick Stewart's in it.
Hell yes.
Young Patrick Stewart. So that got me in the Next Generation feels. I loved every second of him on screen. But yeah, it's one of those. If you consider the source material, it's not a terrible movie. But by any standard, it does unfortunately lend to the time. And, it's David Lynch. You got to put that into context as well. But I mean, I think it's worth a watch. Like, you should check it out.
I will,
especially before this new one, so you can really see how Dennis Villeneuve or whatever his name is.
I love him. I don't care.
He's great. Yeah, I'll watch everything
he does. He could paint a wall for 2 hours. I'll watch it.
I may have been one of 3 people that really loved the Blade Runner sequel.
No, what are you talking about?
You're the other one.
Oh, okay.
You're the other guy. It's not Scott, though. Out of the 3 in this room, it's not Scott. It's you and me, and then maybe the Coke can. I don't know, but I love that movie.
Dude, it's so good. And I don't even. How do I explain this? When I'm going off a tangent. We're talking about Blade Runner now, but Jared Leto is the most annoying actor on the planet to me. I loved him in 2049, and everything about that movie is super good. I think because it reminds me of like Cowboy Bebop. I think.
I love the original so much, and I've seen every cut that they decided. But there's like 5 different cuts of that movie. I've seen them all, and I think the only thing, and you're right, it's a tangent. The only thing I didn't like about 2049 is that they answered a question that I didn't feel like they needed to answer.
Yeah,
I didn't like how they answered the whole thing about Decker and things like that. I feel like that could have been still a mystery, and I would have been loved it. But it's still a great movie.
But this isn't a 2049 podcast.
But so no. So that director is directing the new Dune. So
yeah.
To bring it back, I do think you should pop that open.
I will.
Check it out.
I will promise I will. And
just
I know I
to
said
see
I was
Sting
going to
shirtless in his skinniest,
I know,
police days.
I know I was going to say I was going to watch The Crow for this, but to pull the curtain back, we all have jobs and we are all very busy. So it was a chore to get any movies in this week, and it shouldn't be, especially as a cinephile, but I just couldn't make it work this week. So I promise for the next episode, I will watch The Crow, even if I have to watch it tonight.
The Crow reminded me of Dark City.
The Matrix.
The Matrix and Dark City.
Something about this one.
So there's 2 other Blu-rays coming out this Tuesday that I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about the musical last. There is a great, if you go to Vinegar Syndrome, they do a lot of partnerships that a lot of people like to say that Vinegar Syndrome polishes turds and just re-releases bad movies in better quality with better supplements.
Find your niche.
Which is kind of, I don't want to say true, but I understand. There is it's 1975's Rancho Deluxe with Jeff Bridges.
That's right, the dude.
2 rustlers determined to hustle their share of Rancho Deluxe and grab as much of the action as they can handle. Starring Jeff Bridges, Sam Waterston, Elizabeth Ashley, Charlene Dallas, Harry Dean Stanton. It started as fun, but before it's over, the laughter isn't all that will die.
And he made this movie clearly a long time ago. He's very young, and it's a comedy. And Fun City Editions has put out, I already have it. It's an incredible Blu-ray where they actually got him to do commentary for the film. So
I remember you telling me about this.
Cannot wait to stick it in and watch.
Oh God, why do you keep coming up with new podcasts?
I cannot wait to view this and watch the new
this.
the new commentary with it. So if you're into anything like that, head over to Vinegar Syndrome, go to Fun City Editions, and grab this, because I think only 1,000 are made. And once they're gone, they're gone. It's very niche, but I can't recommend these guys enough. They did a version of Walking the Edge with Robert Forster that I got, and another one called Smile with Bruce Dern, which if you've ever seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he's the old guy who's like blind. They put a lot of heart and soul into these movies, and I just cannot recommend them enough. They're not paying me anything because this is my second episode of a podcast that we do in a closet. So it's a real it's a real passion of mine to find stuff like this and recommend it to you guys. And then last but not least, for Blu-ray releases that I think people would be interested in, I guess, is Into the Heights, which is Lin-Manuel Miranda's second outing, I guess, if you really want to call Hamilton a movie, but it's more like just a stage production.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land called Washington Heights. Say it so it doesn't disappear.
Washington Heights!
This was an actual movie. A lot of the same people are used. Did you ever watch it, Jordan?
No, I didn't get around to it. I know you had wanted to go see it in the theater, and I couldn't make it. And then by the time I wanted to watch it, I didn't get to watch it when it released on HBO Max. So I know it'll release eventually.
So I'll say this:
I'll watch it.
I saw it for free, and I want my money back. And I like musicals. You can't sit here and be like, "Oh, you just don't like musicals." I love Hamilton. We are literally going to see the play production of Hamilton.
Excited.
I like Chicago. I like anything with music in it. I did not like this. It was too basic for me. I understand that, it's a musical and plays off different things, but it was, to me, it was not very good. You might like it if you want to add to your collection. If you want to be like me, surrounded by movies that you don't watch, it comes out on Tuesday and you guys can buy it.
I was going to make a really this movie's too woke for Aaron.
It's
joke.
not.
But,
it has nothing to do with being woke.
That's where he wanted to go.
Like, I wanted to go, but then I thought about the backlash that movie got for not being black enough as well, and Puerto Rican. Yeah, no. Apparently, there was a lot of backlash that they weren't representing. I think it was Harlem.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
accurately.
Okay.
And even then, it was just like, can we not find everything to complain about?
So let's
can we just watch it?
Let's rewind that. And I know you're joking, but honestly, I don't care if a movie's woke. It still's got to be good. It still needs to be a good movie. I don't like any movie that goes too far in either direction. I don't care about your politics, and I hate the argument online. Well, every piece of entertainment has politics in it. No, it doesn't, because I can sit here and show you a movie.
We just watched Dark City.
Yeah,
there are no politics in this movie.
So, no, it has nothing to do with politics. Just Washington Heights is literally like dude falls in love with a girl, and instead of just talking to her, he does everything else in the planet and then decides to talk to her at the end. So it's 2 hours of this dude just making terrible decisions, and then when the easiest decision in the world.
It's the trope where everything could have been solved with a
simple conversation. And listen, I'm going to say this now that we're eventually going to do like a pet peeves movie show. It is my biggest one, and I will never ever get over it. Any movie that has a hour and 30-minute plot where all you have to do is sit down and talk to somebody like an adult and everything can be solved is the most frustrating thing on the planet.
Where's the fun in that?
You just found every romantic comedy.
Yeah, I know.
Great.
History.
My movie's going to get a 1 out of 5 next week.
Wait to watch next week's movie.
No. No, because like there are movies that do it well, like Breakfast Club and stuff like that. They do talk, and then you find out more stuff. But movies like, and I can only think of this off the top of my head, but like Daddy's Home, where all the wife has to do is be like, you're my ex, you're my husband, stop. Roll credits. Anyways, do you guys got anything, Dad? Anything you want to talk about?
We got some theater releases. If people want to actually go to the theater, this is one that's not going to go to Disney Plus. We have Shang-Chi coming out Friday.
Is it Shang?
It is Shang-Chi. They
I'm
even
saying
actually
Shang.
address it in. Well, yeah, we're white. No, it was actually I think addressed in a scene that they released on YouTube or something like that, where he's trying to teach Awkwafina to actually say his name correctly. So it's Shang-Chi. That comes out Friday. So
I think we're going to see it as a show.
We're going to try to go see that. Maybe we'll touch up on just a quick
We'll
review.
give you 2 reviews next week.
I know.
Ooh.
But
these guys were supposed to see Candyman with me, but they blew me off, so I'm not even going to get into it.
Yeah, I faked an injury just not.
Yep. Yep. I was washing my driveway.
Scott was washing his hair.
Yeah. It's weird.
But yeah, that comes out next week. I don't know if there's any other major theater releases coming out. I know as far as news goes, we've all got to see Spider-Man's trailer.
We watched it and
talked to ad nauseum.
Scott and I watched it in this room together. I'm very excited. I love the world building. A lot of people are saying the only reason they released the trailer was because it was leaked. No. Sony had its little Comic-Con, VideoCon thing on Monday. They released it. I think they were always going to release it. Somebody got a hold of it early.
I feel like they were going to debut it at CinemaCon. I still think they weren't going to release it on the internet. I think they were going to attach it to Venom originally when September's date was on the table.
For a December movie?
Yes. And then Venom got pushed to October, so they had no trailer vehicle. They could have put it on Shang-Chi since it is a Marvel Disney adventure,
see, I think it's going to be on Shang-Chi.
I think it will be too, but I don't think that's their plan was to release it that early.
I agree to disagree, just because I think Disney likes to keep it in the.
Yeah, but you got to realize just because it's Disney, it's not. It's Sony.
I know it's
Sony, and they're still going to be protective. And I think that's why, for me, Venom would have been their vehicle, because they're trying to make sure Venom succeeds. That is looking less and less likely since they are moving it to October officially. Just kidding. They're probably pushing it out to January to take over Morbius' spot, where Morbius will finally die, even though he's the living vampire, and we'll never see that terrible, terrible looking Jared Leto movie.
I know. It's so funny to me. I don't understand this. Like, I get that all these companies want to make money. Get your own property, because you're just making it confusing for everybody else.
Right.
Just sell the rights to Disney. Use that money to make new properties or something, because it's just not working, guys. It's just not working. So
well, yeah, it's hard because then you get like characters like the Hulk that's not owned by Disney or Marvel,
right?
But he can be in a Marvel movie, but he can't be the main character, because if he's the main character, then MGM Universal gets him.
Yeah,
and they don't want to share. So it's
so dumb. I hate
Hollywood
the rights
sucks,
issues.
But please churn out more movies, because we need more things to talk about.
Yeah, we need to talk about this for many years. All right, guys. Well, that was a really fun episode, even though we got off to that rough start at the beginning, which you will never hear. Anyways, all right. So next week we will be reviewing Career Opportunities. We'll go through the Blu-rays coming out. We'll talk about the news. Hopefully we'll all see Shang-Chi. I'm Aaron.
I'm Jordan.
And Scott.
And this was I Will Watch It Later, or I'll Watch It Later. I don't know. Whatever. We will see you guys in 1 week.